Hello and welcome to the No Easy Way Out podcast. My name is Tony Nash, and we are coming to you as always from the Armory in beautiful downtown Owasso, Michigan, home to my company AZ Business Solutions, where we help grow your brand from A to Z. And we are joined today by the man, Mark Agnew from Agnew Sign Company. Mark, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Tony.
Now, I've known Mark for quite a few years. I think the first time I met you, Mark, and you probably don't remember this, but I was on staff at Emmanuel Baptist Church, and I brought a big, giant green bus to you. And I said, I need some letters on the side of this bus. And we've had like 4 iterations of that bus since then. But you were out on North 52 at the time, and we brought the big bus, and you guys knocked it out of the park. And so you kind of became the church's sign and letter people from there on. And then since then, we've known you for a while. I worked at the Comstock and used to come into the Tanglewood all the time,
Right.
so we had opportunities to talk there. And we've worked on several projects together. We got to tag team the Johnny V's location in Perry, and so sometimes we cross paths and we get to work together. It's always been a pleasure to work with you. And personally, you're someone that I look up to as an entrepreneur that's been doing it for a
Thank
while. Yeah, and I think a lot of people in our community look at that. And so we want to talk about your journey here. But it's just it's our pleasure to have you on the show, and so thank you for being with us.
Thanks.
All right, well, Mark, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about Agnew Sign Company and what you guys do there?
We've been in business 35 years, just about 35 years. We do signs, lettering, banners, wraps. We like to call it building brands. We take customers from concept to completion, but a lot of small projects, a lot of large projects.
Yeah, for sure. And we see your guys all over town. Probably, I would say probably 80% of the signs you see when you drive through Owasso were either designed and installed by Agnew Sign. You guys do a great job. Highly recommended in the area. But I love your motto, building brands. It's similar to ours. Ours is growing your brand from A to Z. We work with a lot of startups and new businesses, and there's so many things that a lot of new businesses don't think about when they're thinking about starting a business. And so we try to be kind of a one-source solution. When people come to us and we can't provide a solution, we'll put them in touch with someone else. For instance, when they need a sign, we don't do
Right.
signs, so I'll say, hey, let's go talk to Mark Agnew. And so we try to just be a 360-degree solution. But I know you've explained to me kind of your reasoning behind that motto, and so why don't you tell us a little more what building brands means to you?
Building brands, when a customer comes in, a lot of times they want a sign or they want something on their vehicle, and they don't really understand what it means to be consistent. They don't
Right.
understand what it means to have good visibility.
Yeah.
To me, visual communication has to be the same throughout, consistency.
Right.
But it's letting them know what's important. We've had people come in and want to talk about signs, and then they decide, well, I might wait for a few months and see how business goes.
Right.
They
Right.
have no clue.
Yeah.
It's probably the most important thing next to a plan
Yeah.
to be in business.
That's how people
So,
see you. Absolutely. Well, and you probably come across this, but some people will come in and they'll have 2 or 3 different versions of their logo and different color schemes, and they change their mind. And so helping them kind of bring all that into a consistent look so that people, when they see their logo, even if they don't even read what it says, like it says something, the logo stands out, and the wording and the lettering and all that. And so, yeah, that's something that I think we both share a passion for, and it's something that's real. I mean, a lot of business owners have a great idea and a great concept, but just don't know anything about branding.
Right.
And so that's where I would recommend, wherever you are, find an expert that can help you with that. And there's a lot of people out there that know how that's done and the importance of it. So right now I want to do something that we always do on our show called This or That. Give our audience a little bit more of an opportunity to get to know you and your personality a little bit. So I'm going to give you 10 things, and you're going to tell me which one is Mark Agnew.
Okay.
All right, you ready for this?
Okay.
All right. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Mac or PC?
PC.
Night owl or early bird?
Night owl.
Countryside or city slicker?
Ooh, city limits.
City limits.
I'm right in the middle there.
Yeah, that's true. You are. Right on the river. Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook.
Phone call or text?
Phone call.
Money or time?
Time is money,
Yeah, that's true.
but I would have to say time.
For sure. Night in or night out?
Well, the older I get, night in sounds better.
I can relate. I have 6 children, so it seems like every night there's something going on. And it's not a night out like it used to be,
Right.
but sometimes just a night in and is great. Okay, I know you're a big car guy. You're actually one of the coordinators of the Cruise the Pits
Right.
car show here in Owasso. Cruising the Pits used to be a thing when I was in high school. Guys and gals would just drive their cars at this little route around downtown. It was a lot of fun. I try to explain it to my kids, and they don't understand. Like, well, you mean you
Yeah.
just drove and like circles? It was fun. That's what we did. And so you've brought back this Cruise the Pits car show, and so people bring their cars from all over the state, and then they actually have a cruise, and it's become a really cool thing. So I think I know the answer to this, but are you more of a European exotic car or American muscle?
Oh, American Muscle.
Yeah, for sure. You got a couple, right? What kind of cars
I
you
got
got?
a 71 Cadillac with a 472 big block. Got a
It
70
needs that to pull that thing out. That's a big car.
It's a Bolt, but man,
Yeah.
it rides nice.
Oh, yeah.
79 Trans Am. It's all original from California. It's zero rust,
Beautiful car.
low miles. And then I got a 67 Chevy C10 that's original,
Yeah.
all patina truck.
Yeah, I love that truck.
Yeah.
That is my favorite body style. That era was my favorite body style of Chevy, and I love how you kind of made it look, patinaed and clear coated.
Yeah.
It looks really sharp. Okay, Chevy or Ford?
Oh, Chevy. Yeah.
Chevy guy?
GM.
Obviously, yeah, just as you mentioned there. All right, this is the big one. All right, Wolverines or Spartans?
Spartans.
Yeah, well, it's easier to cheer for the Spartans right now. Michigan is struggling, so. All right, so now everyone's got to know you a little bit better. I want to talk a little bit about your journey, okay? Every entrepreneur has one, a story of how they came up with the idea and how they got where they are today. And you've been around for 35 years, so how did Agnew Sign become a thing?
Well, we started out as Agnew Window Tinting. Back in 1985, we were just tinting windows. It was something I did on my own vehicles. Tint the windows, pinstripe them. My dad taught me how to pinstripe a car when I was 12 or 14 years old. So it's something I just was doing for people for $20 or $40. And
For some money,
Yeah,
side
so-
hustle.
yeah, I tinted the windows on Ed Mahoney's Suburban, and he said, "You should make a business out of this." I said, "How do you do that?"
Yeah.
Well, go get some business cards made, So I did. I still have some.
Oh,
So
really?
the Agnew window tinting business cards
That's
from
awesome.
1985, and so it just kind of evolved. I think the next name was Agnew Graphics, and that stuck for a long time.
Yeah, that's what it was when I first met you.
Yeah, but we've had 30 different business cards
Yeah.
since then. The logo's evolved and the business has evolved. But yeah, we started doing graphics, and then the next thing you know, somebody's asking you for a sign, and then I went to school for graphic art and design and marketing, and just kept growing the business.
Yeah, yeah. And here you are, 35
Yeah.
years later, and nice, big, beautiful facility, and got some cool toys now that you probably didn't have when you were just tinting windows.
Right.
Makes jobs a little bit easier, makes your capabilities a little bit bigger. And I love the vehicle wraps. That's something I've always been intrigued with. I've even thought about the vehicles I have. Would it be worth wrapping with my business? My business is a little different, that it doesn't appeal to the average person. It really kind of appeals to businesses, but I love seeing the car wraps and the process. You put some videos online of how you guys almost make it look like it's a paint job, and I still can't. I mean, I helped a couple of buddies put some logos on the side of their door, and I can't do it without getting bubbles, and that's
Yeah.
just the logo, and you guys are wrapping these whole vehicles. It's a pretty cool process.
It is a process. The guys have taken a lot of training doing it, but we're wrapping at least 3 vehicles a week right now.
Wow.
And color change is kind of a new thing. It's a different material altogether. You don't print. You can buy it cast in color. We just did a Jeep. We took it from burgundy to metallic black, and we pulled all the trim, the mirrors, lights, glass, blinkers, anything that could come off the vehicle. We took it off, and everything's wrapped around inside, and
Yeah.
then reassemble it. And you can walk up and touch it. You can't tell it's
You
not
can't tell.
paint.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that was a thing. I've wondered about that before, but that's pretty neat. So, being in business for 35 years now, we are almost a 5-year-old company. So we're just babies here, and we're figuring it out every day. We've done so many things wrong. I started in my, little office at my house, and we're growing, but I think 35 years from now, I just think, wow, I want to still be doing this. I enjoy what I do. But I'm sure over that time, you've learned a lot about what to do, probably some things about what not to do, and have some secrets to success. So I wondered if you might be willing to share with our audience some of the things you've learned over the years that have helped you be successful for 35 years.
I think the one thing that sticks in my mind that was something that I made sure I did was baby steps. I never, until just recently, 35 years later,
Yeah.
but I never jumped in both feet, not knowing, when I rented the building that we just moved out of 20 years ago, I rented it and didn't do anything with it for 6 months because
Wow.
I wasn't sure that I would be able to maintain that. And I wasn't going to go in there and then walk away from it.
Right.
So I rented it.
That wasn't an option.
Yeah, I kept doing business from a garage behind our house while I rented the building. And after 6 months, I realized that I can sustain this. So we moved everything in.
Yeah.
And that was just part of my plan, baby steps.
Yeah.
Make sure you can do it, because the worst thing would be to move in and then move out.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a tough thing. I know for me, like I consider myself to be a visionary. Like I'm always thinking of new ideas and new fun things I'd like to try. I look at other companies like mine and see some of the things they're doing. Like, man, I'd like to be able to do that, or I wish we could do those things. So I have found it to be very difficult to take those baby steps. There has been twice now in our 5 years that I felt like we were on a wave of momentum, and I believe, and I call it mighty mo, like ride that momentum and utilize that momentum. But if you don't ride it the right way, it can hurt you. And I watch Shark Tank a lot, and they're always saying, "Don't grow too fast." I'm like, "Grow too fast? Like, what does that even mean?" And of course, you learn. So there's been a couple times where we've expanded a little too fast, or hired a couple people that weren't quite ready for yet, and we've had to kind of scale it back. Like you, I'm not an optic. Quitting is not an option.
right.
So you have to be honest with yourself and say, all right, I tried this, I moved too fast, this isn't working, so let's pull it back. But that's a difficult thing to take those baby steps, especially, like I said, if you're an idea person.
Oh, it is. There's been times over the years that I wanted to buy a new piece of equipment or hire someone, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Right.
I could have done it
Yeah.
and taken a bigger risk, but to me it was more important to just keep that cash flow. The way you're doing things is working.
Mm-hmm.
If something breaks, we run 2 large format printers. If one breaks, I'm going to replace it.
Yeah.
But to add a third, something we could do.
Yeah.
We're going to add a piece of equipment sometime in 2020,
Yeah.
and I don't know what that is yet, but I'm taking my time
Yeah.
to figure it out.
To know what the right move is. Yeah, I think that's excellent advice, and that's something that I admittedly have struggled with, and really try to take things at the right pace and grow
Right.
at the right pace. And like I said, I don't want to let the momentum get out ahead of me and then find myself in a situation where we can't keep up, but finding that sweet spot. And I think there's probably no pad answer for how to do that. You just have to each business and each entrepreneur is different, and you probably just have to kind of dip your feet in the water, see if it's ready, and start walking in, and just be honest if it's not working.
Well, being busier than you can handle is a good feeling when you go home at night,
Yeah.
knowing that it's there for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And to me, that's always been, there's been times when we've hired someone and couldn't sustain it. And that keeps you up at night.
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to take care of your employees.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the paycheck's there. But to me, it's not worth,
Right.
putting somebody on because you got a big job.
Right.
I'll wait until the job's over and see what the next job brings.
Yeah. That's great advice. That's excellent advice. So I think that taking those steps, those baby steps, is important. And I think, and maybe I'm wrong, I think you're probably past, at your stage of business, you're right past the baby step point. Now, a lot of the steps you're taking are big steps. Like you said, after 35, 34,
Yeah.
you jump into this really big building, double, triple the space, but it also increases your capabilities. So on top of that, what are some other things that you've come across that you say, these are a must in order to stay in business for a long time, in order to keep it going? What are some other things you've learned along the way?
Well, the marketing, website,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and I find Facebook just to be way more valuable than a website.
Yeah.
Website's got to be there for a simple information, but
For search engines and for people being able to find you. But yeah, I mean, Facebook is a way to keep people like fresh in the moment. What's going on right now?
yeah. But your
Absolutely.
question was, what do I find the things I need to do?
Yeah, what are some other things? I mean, I know you said the baby steps, and what are some of the other things you've learned along the way that have helped you stay in business as long as you've been?
Taking care of your customers. That's, I mean, here's the one thing about business. To be in business, you have to be several things. You got to be a good marketer,
For
a
sure.
good business person. You have to have a skill or a task or a product, but you also have to be a really good manager
Mm-hmm.
and an employer if you have employees.
Mm-hmm.
You take one of those out of there. Let's say you take out the people person skill. You're not a good
Mhm.
people person, but you have a good talent.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have an easy time at it because the customers walk away from you.
Absolutely.
So you have to be all those things. And
Mhm.
you can work on one that you're not good at. You know, there's books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think that having all the right skills, and people don't realize it. When you see a business like open up and then they close and you wonder what happened.
Yeah.
Maybe they just weren't a good people person, or they weren't a good manager.
Yeah.
You know, they spent all their money and they went broke. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons people go out of business.
Well, you hear all the gurus say, focus on your strengths and hire your weaknesses. I'm like, yeah, that would be great, but I can't afford to hire my weaknesses right
What
now.
if your weakness is a manager?
Or is hiring?
Yeah, you're not good at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think first you got to improve yourself. First you got to get to the point where you're like, you know, I'm not good with people, but let me take a class. Go to a Baker College and take a class on interpersonal relationships or public speaking. Find a way to get better at that. I mean, improve yourself. If your problem is your product isn't quite right, find a way to improve that product. But when you're starting out, especially, like, I mean, I was in business for a couple years before I ever could bring on an employee. And even when I brought on my first employee, I was like, I don't know if this is time, but I knew I needed help. But there was no hiring my weaknesses. Like, I had to address my weaknesses and make it work. So if you're listening and you're an entrepreneur and you're by yourself right now, or you have just one or two people, the hiring your weaknesses is a great thing if you can do it. But if you can't, then you got to figure it out. And
Yeah.
your business will only be as good as you. And so if you don't work on improving yourselves and improving those weaknesses, you're going to struggle with that.
I found when it comes to the hiring over the years, I mean, when I first hired my very first person, it was a friend of mine who was on the fire department, and he had a 24 on, 24 off job. And then he had every third shift, he had 3 days off.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to have a full-time job, which was beautiful for me. So he worked 15 to 20 hours a week, and I was able to spend time with him.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times people hire somebody 40 hours, and now you're struggling to keep them busy.
Yeah.
When you should be struggling on other things at hand.
Right.
You're working on keeping this person busy, and it's tough. So
For sure. So take your time. You know, it's, you know, I'm a parent, and so you can't expect your 2-year-old to do adult things. And I have a kid in college just this year. You can't expect an 18-year-old always to do adult things.
right.
And so you take the time to grow them, and so your business is almost like having a baby, you know, and you got to start small and nurture it and grow it and figure out what's going to make it more healthy. And
Yep. And a babysitter is the person to help you.
yeah,
And you screen them.
Right.
You know? So you got to find that person that's willing to help you.
yeah,
Sometimes it's a relative.
yeah,
Hey, I'll work for a couple hours. And I did this too. There was a lot of nephews that I had and friends that would help me just do an install.
yeah,
Just one-time thing, you know.
yeah.
So it helps you grow.
And I like your babysitter analogy because, you know, I hear a lot of entrepreneurs complain, my employees don't care as much as I do. They never will. Your babysitter's never going to love your kid the way you love your kid, right?
Right.
So even if you have a great employee, they're not going to have the same heart and passion for the business that you do. So you have to drive that. Just like I said, if you find that great babysitter, they're gonna love your kid, but they're not gonna love it like you love it.
No.
You know. So there's an aspect of finding great people that care about what they're doing and care about you and care about your business, but that passion that you feel for it, it's never gonna be that for somebody else. I don't think.
It'll never be that for an employee, but there's a different passion that an employee has.
For sure.
and that's loving their job.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that only happens when you take really good care of them, you know. And I found, so I have a friend who has a sign shop out of town, and his turnover rate is crazy. I mean, every month, couple gone, couple new, you know, so he's constantly
That's tough.
training. It is tough. And him and I talk about it at length, and, you know, I always tell him, why don't you take care of them? Give them a raise.
Yeah.
Give them a little bonus. Let them know when they're doing a good job, you know.
Yeah.
My guys really take care of me.
Yeah.
You know, they're there right now working, getting jobs done, and they love their job. You know, they work hard at it, and I reward them. There's things that I do that they really appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So when they come to work, they appreciate their job, and
Yeah.
and I get, I guess, that better babysitter.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. We've had a couple of podcasts about hiring the right people and also about how to motivate your employees. And certainly money is, paying them better is one of those ways, but there are a lot of other ways too. Just treat your people right.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate them. Tell them how much you value them, and show them how much you value them. And don't only praise them in public, but praise them one-on-one.
Yeah.
And
It's little things like we do Fresh Fruit Monday.
Yeah.
Only this Monday I forgot to get bananas, so I'm kind of in the doghouse.
Yeah, little things like that. People just look forward to it. It makes them feel like they're part of the team. And so I think those are all really great things. You know, I have a statistic here. It says, according to the SBA, the Small Business Association of America, 30% of small businesses fail in the first year. That's a lot. And 50% fail in the first 5 years. So in your experience, why do you think so many businesses fail?
I think it goes right back to that, those facets that you have to have, those skills you have to be a business owner, which is knowledge, or maybe, or the management. If one's missing,
Yeah.
someone might have a great skill, but put their business in a bad location.
Yeah.
And if they didn't think about it, or do marketing research, you know, where's that business going to do its best? You know, you don't sell sporting goods in an industrial park,
Right.
for instance.
Right.
You got to be in the right location.
Yeah.
So the 30% that fail could be location,
Yeah.
management, or just not taking that baby step, spent way too much money to start, and
underfunded,
you know,
trying to spend more money than they have at the beginning, not allowing the business to grow the right way.
and it's hard to, you know, the baby step thing is hard to do in some businesses. Some businesses you have to buy the equipment. Good example is Foster Coffee.
Yeah.
You would think that a business like that is the business that you have to invest and get the storefront and open right now.
Yeah.
But they did baby steps.
Yeah.
They did the farmers market for years.
Yeah.
And created
Build an
that,
audience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then they open, and it's just phenomenal where
Yeah.
they're going.
Yeah, and they just opened their third location in the capital of Michigan, in Lansing, right on Michigan State campus, and they don't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. And I know I've talked to the owners at length, and we have a great relationship with them. They intend to open 10 stores in 10 years or something like that, and it's a great vision to have. But Nick and John have both said we want to do it at the right time. We don't want to get
Right.
out ahead of ourselves, and so that's a challenge. And the other thing I'd like to say is, from my perception, Mark, I mean, for you to have done it for 35 years, I can be certain there have been a lot of bad days, a lot of even probably bad seasons. And I think there has to be in you a commitment that I'm not quitting. I'm going to do this. But even those days when you're really, really committed, like this is what I'm doing, there's still days where it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a day recently, I shared on my podcast a couple weeks ago, I had a day recently, probably first time since I've really been open, but I just felt like it was a tough day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to do this anymore. This is tough, you know. I get offered jobs regularly that could make a lot more money than what I do now. And I worked those jobs. But what allowed me to just say, no, this is just a bad day, and push through it is, number one, I'm committed to this thing. But I think the passion I have for it is what helps push through that commitment. What are the things that have helped you when you've had bad days and bad seasons? What's helped you kind of be committed and push through that?
Well, just knowing that it's going to be there tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They make a new day every morning.
Right.
and you can always, there's always a solution.
Yeah.
You just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've seen that. I mean, I've gone home at night, can't sleep because there's an issue or a project, or how am I going to get this done,
Mm-hmm.
manpower wise, or, and you just find that there's resources out there. There
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
For every business, for every issue,
Mm-hmm.
there's a resource or a solution. It's just whether or not you see it.
Right. Or are willing to look for it.
Willing to look for it.
But again, I think that's where commitment comes in. Like, you have to say, I'm committed to this thing.
Right.
I'm not gonna entertain the idea of giving up. And it doesn't mean that you don't change directions. You've changed names a few times. You've changed locations. You've changed your logo. So there's growing and maturing and all of those things. But none of those were a result of quitting. All of those were a result of growth. And I'm
Correct.
committed to this thing. And I've heard you say this phrase, business for life. This
Yeah.
is what I'm doing. And I think that so many people feel like because I had a bad day or had a bad season, or I'm not growing as fast as my competitor, or I'm not growing as fast as other businesses I've studied, or you start comparing yourselves to everybody else. And then you get on social media and you look at other businesses, and then you really start comparing yourself, and you just want to give up. And those things are real, but I think there has to be that commitment. I'm doing this thing. I'm doing
Right.
this thing. I'm curious to know, what are some of the biggest setbacks in your 35 years? What are some of the biggest setbacks that you had where you just kind of felt like, oh, this is tough, and I don't know how I'm going to get past this?
We've had a lot of little setbacks. I mean, one that sticks in my mind was 2012. There was a house in front of our building that was owned by our landlord, and it was just blocking our view. It was always a problem with parking. And what do? You move out or come up with another plan? And my plan was just go talk to the landlord.
Yeah.
He was renting the house out for $400 a month. I said, I'll pay you $400 a month to tear it down
Yeah.
for as long as I'm there.
Right.
And he agreed. He just said, you pay for it
Yeah.
and then pay the rent. And he signed a paper that he would give it back to me if he ever sold the property.
Yeah.
And he did pass away, and his family knew he said that, and they gave me the money back.
Really?
Which was really a nice gesture. They didn't have to.
Yeah, no.
But that house, we tore it down, and that was the solution, and it changed everything. I mean,
Mhm.
from that point, it was just like we had storefront visibility now.
Mhm. I forgot about that house that was there.
Yeah.
I remember that now that you say it.
So that was another so that was a challenge. That was
Yeah.
your question, challenge.
Yeah.
2008, 9, and 10 were a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
For us, if we weren't making signs, we weren't spending money on materials.
Right.
So we did see a slowdown. Our sales were half in 2008 what they were in 7.
Mm-hmm.
And then in
That was right around the time of the whole
right,
depression,
the crash.
GM, the crash. Yeah, that's when
2008 was the same. I'm sorry, 9.
I moved. 2009.
In 2010, it started to come back up. So we just
Yeah.
rode it.
Yeah.
We tightened our belt, rode it, and came through. But the biggest challenge that I've had in 35 years was cancer.
Yeah.
And it was a personal challenge as far as the business goes.
But it certainly affects the business.
Yeah. Well, my guys stepped up to the plate. They ran the meetings. They did the quotes. They did the jobs. They did everything. I mean, we still made money for the 6 months that I was gone. And I owe that to them. That was,
Yeah.
I didn't worry about it. I was worried about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to my son every day, how things were going, and they handled it.
Just took care of it. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That can help you sleep when you know people are taking care of it. And that goes back to the whole thing about having the right people. And I remember when you battled that, and a lot of us were praying for you, but it was an inspiration to see you kind of just push through it, try to keep a positive attitude. And
Right.
so
6 years clear.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So, I think what I'm hearing in all of this is, yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are bad days. Yes, there are bad seasons, sometimes even bad years. But staying committed.
Right.
Staying committed. I have this big canvas behind me that you can see that says, remember why you started.
Right.
And I see that every day when I walk in here. It's very important to me because I have a very specific reason why I did this. And I want to remember that. And on those days when it's tough, I remember, okay, this is worth it. This is worth it. It doesn't mean that there aren't days where it's hard. Like I said, even days that you might want to quit, but that commitment to say, I'm doing this for life. This is my thing.
Yep.
That will help. And so if you're out there listening and you're thinking, man, I'm done with this thing. I can't do it anymore. Try to really take a moment, think about where you're at, think about why you started, and then maybe think if there's a way to solve the problem you're having. Get creative, re-innovate, reimagine, rethink. Even if that means the brand's got to go in a different direction, or the brand's got to go a different location. All of those things are possibilities, but don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. Stay the course.
There's so many resources to do what you just said with the internet. And
Yeah.
today, I mean, in 1985, I didn't have that.
No.
I had a party line at home, if anybody knows what that is.
I don't.
That's where you pick up the phone and your neighbor's on it, and you have to ask
Oh.
them if you can use it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's all I had. I mean, you had dictionaries
Mm-hmm.
and a thesaurus.
Encyclopedias, the library.
Yep.
Yeah, I try to tell my kids that, even when I was in high school, there was no such thing as the internet. Well, I think it was a thing, but nobody knew what it was. So, just having to find ways to get things. And we were watching this movie the other day. It was set in the 80s, and two people were both on the road for a week. And the joke was, well, it wasn't a joke, but it was funny to us because they said, well, I guess I'm not going to be able to talk to them for a week because they're on the road and they don't have a phone. To my kids, that's like, well, why don't they just call on the cell phone?
Right.
So we're in a different world for sure.
Well, you mentioned remember why you started.
Yeah.
For me, in 1985, I was stripping roofs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the crew that stripped them. Then the other crew would come in and re-roof the house.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy, and I'd been doing it for 3 years after I got out of the Navy. And the one guy there who looked like he was 70 was only 45 years old. But he's in the sun every day. And when you strip roofs, it's hard to wash that off at
Oh,
night.
yeah, for sure.
After a few years, you can tell what you do.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't want to do that.
For the rest of my life. Yeah. Oh, I have a similar story to that. And I think it's just important. I know for me, I worked in the hotel industry, and it's a 24/7 gig. And I just missed so much with my family and my kids and my church, which is something I'm very committed to. And I just realized that work was my life, and I didn't have a life. That was my life. I was at work.
Right.
I mean, and as a patron, you'd come in there at 10 in the morning, and I'm there 8 in the morning, and then you'd come at 10, 11 at night, and I'm still there. And that was my life for years. And so I just realized I got kids, and I only get this time with them once, and I wanted to make that count. And so just remembering, and I think you need to have a why.
Right.
If you've never thought about why you're doing this, you should probably stop and think about this. So what would be, if there's someone out there listening, Mark, and they're just on the verge of giving up, on the verge of quitting, they're having just rough times, what would be some advice you could give them, or some encouragement?
Oh, and I guess it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, or maybe it's a venture, maybe it's an organization, but if you're thinking about quitting, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's a solution for everything, and
Right.
you might not figure it out today, but tomorrow you might. So a lot of people make quick decisions
Right.
because they want to do it before they go home.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they regret it.
Well, sleep on it.
Sleep on it.
Yeah, that's good advice all by itself. Just sleep on it. Give it some time. Don't panic. Don't underreact. Don't overreact. But just
Yep.
think about it, and that's excellent. So at the end of it all, what does success look like to you?
Success. Oh, going home at 5 o'clock. Right back to what you said. I mean,
Yeah.
success is family
Yeah.
and knowing there's work tomorrow and going home at 5.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
having that freedom to be able to do that. And
The guys will listen to this and say, he goes home at 4. What is he talking about?
so going home at 4 is really success.
Really
Like he's
successful.
ultra successful. Yeah. Well, I think that it's important too. You hear all these, again, the gurus talk about success. And success, I believe, is defined individually. What might be success to you might not be success to me, and vice versa. So I think you need to determine, when you're working towards something, what is that? What is success for you? If it's money, and if it's, getting rich, then you might have a different way of approaching your business than I might if mine is going home at 5 o'clock. To me, there's certain things that are more important than that. And so it goes back to the whole time or money thing.
Right.
In relation to your business, Mark, what is your proudest achievement to date?
In relation to the business, my proudest achievement is reaction. I love reactions.
Yeah.
Like when you present your customer with a new sign and that, they had a vision
Yeah.
and they couldn't explain it to maybe somebody else, or maybe they hoped you'd get it, but when you did it and you knocked it out of the park, a huge home run.
Oh, yeah.
Reaction.
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah, me too. Well, can you think of a specific example of one that really stands out to you, that a customer had a vision, and then the first moment you showed them that sign, they were just blown away? And
The Lebowski Center.
that's
the
an
theater
amazing sign.
And that was a collaboration of, we had to do engineering and steel work and electrical, so SLH was involved, SLH Metals in
Yeah.
Corona, Ludington Electric here in Owasso, our company, several others,
Yeah.
and we pulled that together, and it took a long time. I'm just talking about the marquee restoration.
Yeah.
And
It's amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing.
it was really cool on that project. There was a hand painted on the side of the sign. It said Long Sign Company, and it was like 1947 or something like that. So we did some lettering underneath it in the same style that said Restoration, 2015, with all of our names, SLH, Ludington, Agnew.
That's awesome.
And we left the original lettering there. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, the sign is beautiful. They actually took a Watchfire LED sign and incorporated it into an old 1940s, 50s marquee.
Right.
And it's seamless. It looks almost, and the way they even put the letters on there looks like an old marquee, but they have the option to do other things.
And that was a big challenge. The challenge was the sign had to be flush mounted.
And lining up the channels, I imagine.
Yeah, and we did the artwork, that gray grid
Yeah.
that looks like the old Bakelite letter hangers.
Yeah.
That had to be there. So we designed that, and I went down there like 20 times and did
Measuring.
measurements.
Oh, I imagine.
And then until we got it right, and now they just drop that in as artwork and then letter over it.
Yeah.
Looks like the old sign. And
Yeah.
it was a neat project, and it got featured in League of Theaters magazine, and we actually won Watchfire's top 10 installation of the year
Yeah.
award.
That's awesome. Well, it's certainly evident that you love what you do. You wouldn't have done it for 35 years and still going if you didn't. But what do you love most about what you do?
Something different every day. It is something different every day. New people, new challenges. You're not just running hot dogs through a Franco-Matic, and I used to do that at Farmer Pete's.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Farmer Pete's. I
Yeah,
don't even know what that is, but
Franco-Matic makes the hot dogs.
yeah.
And I used to run it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I agree with that 100%. I'm not like a routine guy. Like one of my first jobs, my father's worked in the same factory for 40 plus years. God bless him.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it, but he's faithful to it and has an incredible work ethic. But I worked there right out of high school, 18 years old, and literally just stacked boards at the end of a line all day, and I'm like, how do people do this? And it made me realize I can't do the same thing every day. So I love every day is just different than the day before. So
Yep.
well, Mark, I always ask all of my guests this. We all have that little one piece of advice that we give to everybody, but what is Mark Agnew's best piece of advice?
Well, this is on my Facebook page. The good things in life are free, but you still have to work for them.
Yeah, great advice. Excellent advice. I never heard that. You said that was on your Facebook page?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, again, thank you for being on the show. I know we could
thanks.
talk for hours on these things, and we've had conversations even leading up to this, but I'd love to have you on the show again and talk about some more things and keep up the good work. But why don't you give our audience an opportunity to know how they can reach out to you and find Agnew Sign Company?
Oh, yeah. Our website is agnewgraphics.com. Our Facebook page is Agnew Sign Company, or Sign Co.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it. Our
That's-
phone number is 723-4621 or 725-SIGN.
725 sign. So if you're in the area and you're looking for a great sign or looking for some great branding, I highly recommend Mark Agnew. We can help you get a hold of him, or you can use the information that he said. You had the opportunity today to listen to an entrepreneur who's just been doing it for 35 years and has had some tough days and has had some great days, but through it all has been committed. He's had the endurance. He's viewed his business as a marathon and not a sprint, taking the time, taking those baby steps to grow the right way and grow at the right time. And we live in a world where we have so much access to information and we see what everybody else is doing, so we want that. But take the advice today and grow at the pace that you can grow at. Don't burn yourself out by overcommitting yourself, and don't do things that your business isn't quite ready for. Look at that business like a child that you're growing and teaching and nurturing to get it to the right spot. And one day you can look back and say, you've been doing it for 35 years. We hope here at AZ that we can do it. We certainly are committed to it. And again, Mark, we appreciate you sharing your story with us and sharing your nuggets of wisdom. And I'm certain that will be a help to somebody listening today.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for joining us today. As my mother always said, you can't and never could until you tried. So go out there and try something great, my friends, and don't take the easy way out. We'll see you next time.